You're good,
Welcome,
Terri.
everybody. Hi, my name is Rick Green. I am a certified health coach, and tonight is the habits of health. I want to welcome everyone this evening, and we have a couple of great speakers this evening. We have Linda Graff, who is also a certified health coach, and she's actually going to be doing the presentation tonight, and we're going to talk about some healthy habits of sleep. I also have Terri Wahl here, who is going to share with us a little bit about her and her story and where she came from and why she's decided that she wanted to get on board with this program. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you, and you can see Terri's preview and after picture. And Terri, I'm going to unmute you and tell us a little bit about what we're seeing here, okay?
Okay, hi Rick, and thanks for having me on the call tonight. I'm really excited to be on. So my journey started 5 years ago. I'm a mom of twins, and I was very lucky to be a stay-home mom for 18 years with them. But I was really taking care and focusing on the twins and not focusing on myself, obviously. Then I found myself, when they graduated, went on to college, an empty nester, and I was feeling just hopeless, really, unhealthy. I had high cholesterol, had some health issues from not taking care of myself, and of course taking care of only, the kids, really focusing on them. So I happened to have a very dear friend who offered me this opportunity and said, Terri, I really think I can help you with this. So I tried every program there was. I've always struggled with my weight, and I said, all right, I'm going to give this one last shot. And I was, just feeling so hopeless that I really wanted to do something different and not knowing what would happen. So I started the program. In 16 weeks, I lost 45 pounds, 7 pant sizes, 5 bra sizes, and a shoe and a half size. I've been able to, keep that off for about the full 5 years. I ended up, so many people were so excited for me, and during my journey as I was going, everyone noticed my weight loss. So they said, Linda, my coach said, either you can refer to me, or we'd like to have you join our team and be a coach. And so I thought about it, and I didn't really have a lot going on because I was the empty nester. So I got on board, started coaching, and hundreds of people later, I'm still healthy, happy, and really helping a lot of people, paying it forward, and just really enjoying this. Like, you can't believe I have so much energy. I just feel great all the time. Absolutely love the program, and it's absolutely been a blessing to me in my life. Just so happy, and I have a lot of coaches that I love that I work with. Just can't wait to see what 2016 brings this year, and really looking forward to it. Thanks so much.
Awesome, Terri. Geez, you know what? I wouldn't even recognize you. I mean, yes, you have the facial features here, but those are some pretty dramatic pictures. Congratulations. And I think that, in 2016, you're going to be awesome too. And so with that, Linda, would you like to go ahead and start your share screen? I'm going to go ahead and stop mine. And you can go ahead and we'll start talking about this subject tonight of healthy sleep.
Sure, I would love to, Rick. Thank you, Terri. I never get tired of hearing Terri's story of transformation. I knew that Moo Moo girl, and I knew that person then and now, and I just I never get tired of hearing that. So thanks, Terri, for sharing that.
Thank you.
So we're going to do week 9 tonight, and that is the habit of health of sleep. And just to review real quick, week 7, we talked about the habits of active living and the TEE and the total energy expenditure, the non-exercise activity thermogenesis. And then last week, week 8, they talked about the habits of motion with the exercise activity thermogenesis and the activity part of it. So for tonight, for the sleep, the resources that we're using are, you can find them in chapter 17 of Dr. A's Habits of Health and in lesson 13 in the companion guide. And they kind of work hand in hand. And then the sites for reference are the habitsofhealth.net, where you'll find the self-study course and then the health assessment. And if you haven't done that, I really highly recommend that you do that. And the dashboard.tsfl.com is another place to go. So I'm really glad to be able to talk about sleep, because I know for myself, for 32 years, I was a registered nurse, and I woke up at 4:30 in the morning and probably got an average of 4 or 4.5 hours of sleep. And I was starting to have some symptoms and things that, you know, were kind of couldn't explain, high blood pressure, different things. And I know that I already knew that, you know, I needed to improve my eating and my exercise. But what I didn't know is how important sleep is for just overall health. So the question I want to ask you guys is, are you guys getting enough sleep? You know, we look at these pictures and they kind of speak 1,000 words. You know, are you falling asleep at your computer in front of your desk, or in the middle of the afternoon, you know, watching TV, or at school, or like the gal in the top right who's probably watching the clock every few minutes on the, you know, on the hour? And, you know, are we grabbing that coffee in the middle of the day or the energy drink to try to make up for the sleep that we didn't get the night before? So these are all really good questions that we need to ask ourselves. And I used to think that sleep was just kind of a stage of inactivity where not much went on, but we know now that that's not true. And there's 6 stages of sleep, and it's just one big sleep cycle that every 4 to 6 hours your body goes through this whole cycle, and each time it's about 90 minutes in each cycle. It starts from the time that you close your eyes and start to go to sleep into the first couple stages, stage 1 and 2 of a light sleep. And then stage 3, you're starting to get into a little deeper sleep. You're starting the, restorative things are starting to go on, where your delta waves, your brain waves are starting to kind of slow down. And if you get woken up in this stage, you're probably going to be maybe a little disoriented or irritable, possibly. And then you go into stage 4, where this is a really, especially recuperative, restoring, recharging the body. You're still in the slow brain delta waves. And this stage is really important essential to the sleep process. And then the last stage is the REM cycle, and that's where the rapid eye movement, where your eyes are rapidly moving underneath their eyelids. It's your deepest sleep, where your body, your arms and legs are motionless, almost like in a paralytic state. And then you're dreaming, or your active brain waves are similar to when you're thinking, when you're awake. And they do numerous studies on, people that maybe aren't getting enough sleep. And studies show that women who get 5 hours of sleep or less are 45% more likely to have heart problems. And those women who get 6 hours of sleep or less have a 20% higher risk of obesity. And then the third bullet there says, England's Warwick School of Medicine found that getting less sleep almost doubled as the risk of obesity, even in children as young as 5. So it's really important that we start our kids off right off the bat, with the importance of sleep for long-term health. And how many hours of sleep are recommended? We know that infants and children need more sleep. They need more sleep at night, and they take more naps in the day. And then as you approach adulthood, 7 to 9 hours is kind of the recommended amount of sleep. Studies show that women need less sleep than men. And it's just important that we each learn our own bodies and how much sleep that we need to have. We know that sleep is nature's nurse, and that sleep and weight gain go hand in hand. And there's actually a physiological response to that, where when you don't get enough sleep, it causes the excess secretion of a hormone called ghrelin, and that increases your appetite. And it also decreases the leptin, which tells us when to stop eating. So, You could see that there's some physiological things going on, and it also lowers dopamine and serotonin levels that decreases your comfort and your satisfaction, and then that's when your cravings really start to happen. And your sleep and immunity, when your body has less time to repair and recharge, at night, then our immune system really becomes less effective and compromised. So we know that sleep affects the inflammation in your body and your heart, and decreased sleep leads to higher levels of the C-reactive protein, which increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. And your body in that chronic state of inflammation can lead to higher risks of cancer, premature aging, and high blood pressure. And other sleep-related health issues we can see are anxiety, moodiness, depression, and alcoholism. Some complications of insomnia or not getting enough sleep. There's the psychological part of it, the physiological part of it. And so the psychological part being, you might notice some lower performance, slower reactive time. Your risk of depression and anxiety disorder can be a little bit higher, and your immune system can be definitely affected. We already talked about the reasons why that lack of sleep can cause overweight or obesity, but it also increases your risk for high blood pressure, heart disease, and diabetes as well. Some causes of sleep deprivation. We know that excess weight, when we're carrying too much weight, it's hard for us to get in a good position at night. We, sometimes, can't get in a comfortable position. Maybe we're, our diaphragm or our lungs are being, kind of not fully expanding. So we know that it's hard to get comfortable at night and to get in a good, comfortable position. And you may have experienced pain or discomfort, which during the day, you don't really notice as much because there's a lot of distractions during the day. But at night, when you're laying still and you're in bed, a lot of times, the pain seems to be magnified. Also, allergies, if you're sneezing, if you have head congestion or symptoms of allergies, headaches, then that can make it difficult to fall asleep and to stay asleep. And other symptoms are loud snoring, trouble breathing, restless legs, heartburn, bad dreams, frequent urination, depression, anxiety, sleep apnea. All those kind of things can cause you to not get a good night's sleep. And if you notice that your partner is having some of these symptoms, that can also make your sleep not very good as well. And if you notice that you or your partner is having some of these symptoms, there could be a physiological reason as well. So if there's a concern there, you should definitely check with your doctor and make sure that there's not some underlying cause that's causing some of these things that can be happening. And it's really important to find your chronotype. And some people are early birds and some of us are night owls, either lark or an owl. And it's good to know what chronotype you are, because you need to know and set your routine based on what time of the day you are going to get your best sleep and to set yourself up for a more restful night. So it's important to set a good bedtime and be consistent with it. Even on weekends, you want to kind of keep the same routine. And if you feel like you're sleeping more on weekends, you need to check your bedtime routine during the week to make sure you're getting enough sleep during the week and be fairly consistent with that. And during the day, you want to start off by getting out of bed and, not just laying in bed, all day, but just to get out of bed, start your day, and to limit your caffeine about 3 hours or so before bedtime. We know that caffeine has a half-life of about 6 hours. So if you're having, your latte or your caffeine, mid or late afternoon, that could still affect you not falling asleep at 10 o'clock. So, and to eat responsibly, by that we mean you don't want to eat a heavy meal before you go to bed. Meal replacement's a good choice, something low-fat, low-glycemic, some skim milk or chamomile tea. Those are some good things to help you. But not only right before you go to bed, but it's really important to eat responsibly throughout the day as well, because that can affect your sleep patterns as well. And nap times are not a good idea during the day. If you need a 5-minute cat nap or, power nap for 5 minutes, that there can be some benefit of that, but you don't want to take long naps. So in the evening, we just, it's just best if you decrease your stimulation. Turn the TV off about, 30 minutes or so before you go to bed. It's a good idea to eliminate your cell phone use and maybe minimize emails, because sometimes you can have a disturbing email or text or something that can cause you to have unrest at night when you're trying to sleep. It's a good idea to minimize your liquids 2 hours before bedtime. That's kind of for obvious reasons. And, exercise a couple hours before bed is also stimulating, so you'll probably want to avoid doing that right before bed. And if you take medications for allergies or pain or sleep or whatever, it's a good idea to take them about an hour or so before you go to bed, because that way they can start to have some effectiveness when you start to sleep. And avoid alcohol about 90 minutes or so before bed, because that's a stimulant as well. And it's a good idea to resolve family issues or arguments or whatever before you go to bed. It's always a good idea to not let the sun go down with, things going on in your lives and your family. So it's a good idea to prepare your bedroom. You want to make sure that it's a calm, soothing environment, and make sure the dogs are taken care of, let out at night, or the kids are in their beds, and make sure that everything's all calm. And just when you do your nightly routine of, washing your face and whatever, you can also take a hot bath, wear clothes that don't overheat you, depending on the time of year. Kind of loose fitting clothes are good. They recommend, I noticed the Habits of Health talked about wearing socks at night to keep your feet warm, because when your blood vessels are dilated, that's more relaxing for you. So that's something you can think about. And when you get into bed, a lot of people have routines that are relaxing, like meditating, praying, taking deep breaths, maybe reading a good book, or massage, cuddling. Those kind of things can help you unwind for the day as well. So it's just important to create that healthy, perfect environment for sleep. And, all these components go into healthy sleep. Adequate, decrease lighting, good temperature in the room, air circulation, decrease the noise and the stress going on. And these are from the Habits of Health. These are some really good tips on how to make your bedroom a comfortable, sleep-inducing cocoon. And so some tips are, it starts with the color of your room. Sometimes just using pastels or earth tones are kind of soothing and relaxing. Not bright neon colors and hot pinks and colors like that aren't particularly relaxing. So some people like to put their lights on a dimmer and use the lowest setting. Avoid fluorescent bulbs in your bedroom. And the other thing you can do is make sure your room is completely dark to, make sure that no street lights or anything are glowing in your room. So you might want to invest in some blackout curtains or blinds. A lot of people like to try aromatherapies like chamomile, jasmine, lavender. Those are, they mention a few others that are really good to use in a diffuser with the essential oils, or a hot bath. And then also it's suggested putting a few drops on a handkerchief or slip it into your pillowcase. I haven't tried that, but those sound like some fun things to do. And it's real important, since we spend so many hours in bed, that you take the time to pick a mattress that's the right level of comfort and firmness for you, and making sure that your spine is well aligned with your pillow, not being too high or too low. Make sure your bed doesn't get too hot or too cold during the night. A lot of people are using the infrared quilts and things to keep the body temperature more neutral. And then avoiding electric blankets can interfere with sleep. So might want to avoid those. Ventilation to 68 degrees or lower, and maintain adequate ventilation. And then also decluttering your room is also a helpful tip. So awesome. I'm sorry, Rick.
Thank you so much, Linda. I was going over some of these things, and I had made some notes today. I have a client that we had a conversation today, and we were talking about sleep, because he was telling me that he's only getting 4 or 5 hours of sleep, and I'm like, okay, well, let's look at that. And we started talking about different things, and what we found out was he's been very, very successful on point on purpose, but he's just kind of come up to a stumbling block with his weight loss. You want to go ahead and unshare your screen? And I will. Okay. So I was thinking that, there you go, perfect. I was thinking that a couple of good points to talk about tonight were what he was kind of experiencing. So he's kind of come up against this stone wall, and not having a real good weight loss story for the last couple of weeks. And so we were talking about that, and he was talking about how he's going to bed, and he's just laying there. He's laying there awake for a long time and not really getting any sleep. He's not getting into his REM mode, and he's using a Fitbit, tracking his sleep, and finding out that what he's not doing is preparing his bedroom, and he's not really preparing to go to sleep. Now, if you think about this, I mean, preparing your bedroom for sleep is like, okay, well, we're going to declutter the floor, so if you get up in the middle of the night, you don't trip and fall. Okay, that just makes sense, right? Some of the things that you were talking about, Linda, as far as aromatherapy, maybe putting a couple of drops of some essential oils on a handkerchief and slipping it in your pillowcase helps you relax, right? Mm-hmm. Well, we talked about some more things, and we talked about what he's not doing. He's not preparing himself for sleep. So we talked about the actual few hours before he gets to bed. De-stressing yourself, turning your cell phone off, turning the computer off about an hour and a half, making sure that you are unplugging, basically, and taking the time to meditate, relax. And what he was telling me is what he was planning his day for the next day. He was planning his day in bed. I said, well, maybe if you take that planning time and you put that about an hour or an hour and a half before you go to bed, you won't have to be thinking about that. And then we talked about a little bit more, talking about white noise. Some people can't really sleep when they're in a totally silent room. Maybe you need to have a little bit of background music, or trying to put on some relaxing waves, breaking over the shoreline, or some wind in the trees. It might take a couple things, but you need to find what helps you decompress, what brings that level of anxiety down, so that you can get into the sleep. If you're finding that you're having a problem getting into sleep, there's something going on. And if you're tired and your body's tired and it's time to go to bed and the mind's not letting you get to sleep, then there's a problem. We need to work on that. So I would just definitely recommend for anybody that if they're having a sleep problem, that they kind of reach out. What do you think with that, Linda? Do you think that was pretty good advice?
Absolutely.
Oh, great.
Absolutely. Yeah, that was something I was actually going to add at the end. So that's good that you brought that up. Great,
because the other part that I found out was, when you were talking about, and I think it goes back to slide number 8, when we were talking about sleep being nature's nurse, and how your body doesn't, when it's in sleep deprivation, it really causes the secretion of ghrelin. Mm-hmm. And the hormone that actually increases the appetite. Mm-hmm. Well, the other thing that we were talking about was, he was hungry all the time, and yet he was doing exactly what he was supposed to be doing while he's on point on purpose. And so if you have that over secretion of adrenaline, then you're going to be, while you're on the type of program that we offer, you're going to have hunger pains, not sleeping well, not getting the rejuvenative sleep that you need. So I went through a couple of things with that, and I just thought that it was important to mention because it was something that just occurred today, and I thought, well, it's right on the forefront of my mind. Any other advice that you might have our callers do, Linda?
Well, I just wanted to end with a quote by Thomas Dekker way back in 1608, and he sums it up. Sleep is the golden chain that ties health and our bodies together. I thought that was really cool. I just think that kind of wraps it up in a bow.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I think for the last couple of seconds here, I also want to get a quote from Dr. A. and right in his book. He's talking about in the evening. The evening is your time. Okay, it's your time. It's important to plan it wisely, because as you head home from work, you make a mental note of any of the tasks or activities that need to be done. For example, plan to complete your EAT exercises. We talked about that in the last couple of chapters. Okay, so plan to complete your energy activity thermogenesis exercises, and then any other activities that you need to break a sweat at least 2 hours before bed, and then even earlier if it seems to interrupt your sleep time. But some of the guidelines basically prepare yourself for what he calls sleepy time, and at least an hour and a half before the lights out. So you need to decompress and get yourself ready for bed. So with that, I think we'll wrap it up. Terri, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing your wonderful story with us. Thank you, Linda, for your wonderful presentation of Sleep, Our Nature's Nurse. And I appreciate Charlotte as it is, and she sits in the background and does all of the wonderful things that she does and makes sure that we're on and on time. Thank you so much. So next week we'll have week 10, and at the same time, same channel, so 6:30 Pacific. And I think we're done. Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Happy holidays.
You bet. Thank you. Bye-bye, Terri. Bye-bye, Linda. See you, Charlotte.
Bye.
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 You guys were all wonderful.
Thank you, Charlotte, for all you do. Thanks, Rick.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Terri. Night.